So today we have a special guest coming to us from North Carolina, and I want to intro this just very simply and especially doesn't matter if you're a mother or not, but do you ever feel like life is coming at you? Like you're playing a perpetual game of whack-a-mole. Something comes up over here and you whack it down. Something comes up over there and you whack it down. Before you know it, you're spending days, weeks, months, and sometimes years always on the lookout for the next thing to whack. Tracy Nolin Beerman has been there too. With her experience as a vibe coach, a former teacher, a certified life mastery consultant, a yogi with almost 30 years on the mat, and the mother of two amazing kids, quote her words, her greatest teachers, she helps moms raise their vibe to cultivate more joy, more connection, and more harmony in their lives. So please welcome Tracy to the show.
All right. Well, thank you. It's nice to be here.
Thanks for being on. I really wanted to connect with you. I mean, I loved even just reading, and about you and that harmonious vibe and that's just everything that you're about, and especially because you are a mother and I am not, and I, really want you to speak to the mothers in my community about your experiences. This whack-a-mole. I mean, that's a great game, but it's a tough life to live. So if you want to take us through your journey through that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my kids are, my oldest is almost 14. So when he was around 3 years old, I noticed some really concerning behavior. I noticed pessimism and negativity and self-loathing in a 3-year-old. And that really got my attention. Now, at the time, I thought, okay, something's wrong with him. Like I need so I got all the books out and, what's going on with him? I didn't realize it then, but he was getting it from me.
Okay.
See, on the outside, I was his mom. I was doing all the mom things. On the inside, I was a hot mess. Right. There was some PTSD from his birth that I hadn't healed from. I also had brought all of this baggage in from my own childhood into becoming a mom. And I was a mess. Now it took years. So I was able to turn it around. Right. I was able I kind of went on this journey of unpacking my life, taking pulling everything apart, inspecting it, what works, what's working, what's not working. I had everything pulled apart and tossing the things that no longer served me, but then I didn't know what to do next. And so I'm kind of, you take everything out of the closet. If you imagine you're cleaning out a closet, you take everything out of the closet and then you can't put it all back in. Like sometimes you want to put it all back in the box, but you can't. Right. Mm-hmm. So it was around that time and I was really on my knees and just, praying, what next? Show me the way, because I'm stuck. I don't know what to do next. And right around that time, I met my coach. And she helped me to see, for one thing, that I was sharing all of this low frequency, low vibe energy with my kids, and that I was really, I was a mess. I was not living into my core values and who I really am as a person. Right. Mm-hmm. I took the role as a mother, and I put my family first. And that's just not, my family is definitely in my top 5 core values, but personal growth, that's my top. That's my number 1. So I got busy. It took me years and it was very costly, but I was able to turn it around. And now I teach, now I'm a vibe coach. I help moms, I help women. Mm-hmm. To raise their vibe, and so that they can experience and cultivate more connection, more joy, and more harmony in their lives. And now my son is, he's almost 14, and mm-hmm. I can see that what I have done has made a difference.
That's beautiful. It's funny because we always give the quick version of the the victorious side of what we've overcome, but right. You were talking about, like, I mean, when your child is 3, it's like you can't really just be like asking him, hey, no. what's right. wrong, what's going on, and and trying to figure out, like, I think I'm rubbing off on him. I think
Yeah.
all of this stuff that I've been going through, and I really got the visual with the suitcase. Like, it just was this frantic suitcase and just everything's just unpacked.
Right.
How did you start to put the pieces back, or make that connection that you had to work on you in order to help your son?
You know, it wasn't an immediate connection.
Mhm.
And here's the thing. I had been doing yoga at that point for 20 years, maybe 20, maybe 25 years.
Mhm.
And I thought I was this, not enlightened, but I thought that I was this self-aware person. I was not. I was on the mat,
Mhm.
right? But not really in my life, which I think that I think a lot of people can relate. I
Mhm.
can be completely zen on the mat, but bring me, get off the mat and I'm like right in life, right?
Yeah.
Um, but it was really it was meeting my coach, and she helped me to see
Mhm.
that you're off. Like, no wonder you feel wonky. You're not living into who you're here to be. She also taught me a different way of living. I call it living a vision driven life,
Mhm.
and it's a moving toward what you want rather than pushing away from what you don't. That was it for me. It was because I had always, and most of us, we are taught as children, in life and society to, okay, so this is the way things go. So you go to school, and then
Mhm.
you get a degree, and then you get the job, and then all of that, the way that things are
Yeah.
supposed to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we live based on those things. Okay,
Mhm.
now that I have the degree, now I can do this. Now that I have the job, now then I can do this.
Mhm.
And we have it backwards. We need to decide what we want first and move toward that, right? Rather than the waiting. Because
Mhm.
when we're waiting, where I spent most of my life just waiting, really waiting for the lightning bolts to come down and tell me what to do.
Yep.
But turning around, and it's so incredibly empowering to be moving toward what you want. And especially through this past year,
Mm.
um, I don't know where I would have been if I didn't have this way of living, the moving toward, and the raising your vibe, managing your, I mean, all day, every day, just about through
Yep.
this past year,
Mhm.
managing the vibe and kind of checking in, how am I feeling right now? Okay, what can I do to move up that emotional scale?
Yeah. It's definitely a powerful thing when you can make that mind shift, like, mindset shift, and really identify that, okay, I need to figure out where I want to go and keep moving towards there, despite what obstacles will come in our way.
Right.
The thing that I'm really curious about, because I often, I get a lot of people who are stuck in
Yeah.
that rut, and they really just, they really can't see through the fog.
Right.
They're
Right.
sitting there, and they're probably feeling like you did, years ago. You were just like, how do I put this all together?
Yeah.
And for you, I guess, what was that pivotal moment where you were like, I need to find someone to help me. I need help. I can't do this alone.
Yeah, it was really that realizing that I have done everything that I know in my mind and in my heart to do, right?
Mhm.
And then I really, I like to call it following my yellow brick, following your yellow brick road, right? And really listening. I mean, at that point, I was on my knees again, right? Help me. I don't know what to do next. I
Mhm.
really don't know.
Mhm.
And I had pulled apart my marriage, I had pulled apart my whole, I had pulled apart everything in my life.
Mhm.
I needed help. And I really, I had gone, some friends and I, every year we would do this, we called it this passage ceremony. And we would do it in January, and it was kind of a letting go of the previous year, and kind of, it was visioning, but it was more like New Year's resolutions ish.
Yeah. Yep.
But we had done it in overnight, and we'd had, the couple of friends and I, we had done the passage ceremony, and I just woke up in the morning, and I think it was being in that energy of, the friends and the
Mhm.
positivity and that high vibe. And I just got this nudge to go to my church, the Unity Church. And I thought that I knew what I was going to find there. But I didn't. I met my coach there. She was just happened to be doing a workshop. And I really think it was that surrendering to, I'm on my knees, I don't know what to do next, and then just listening, rather than what I would usually do is just go and go and go and go and go and, oh, I'll try this, try this, try this. I had exhausted all of those possibilities, or so I thought. But I really
Yeah.
think it was that surrendering, and I don't know what to do next. And so, and immediate. So I had been in search of a life coach certification.
Mhm.
I had been doing it, looking for about a year and a half at that point,
Mhm.
but it had to have a spiritual element for me. It
Yeah.
just that resonated with me,
Mhm.
and so I just couldn't find any. Wasn't finding what I was looking for. As soon as I started working with my coach, I knew that's it. That's exactly what I've been looking for. She helped me with moving past learning how to live a vision driven life, but she also introduced me to the work that I do now.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And that speaks very loudly to when the student is ready, the teacher comes,
Yes. Right.
you know?
In that moving, that okay, here I'm going to go here and here and here and here and this
Mhm.
and this and that. And it was not until I surrendered and opened, and allowed. Because I think a lot of time we do this outward energy of push, push, push,
Yeah.
but we also, it's kind of it's kind of like like waves,
Mhm.
we allow it in and then we give back, and then we allow it in and we give back.
Yeah, definitely. And when because you speak a lot about the whack-a-mole analogy, and
Yeah.
it's so reactive, isn't it? When you
Yeah.
think about the game whack-a-mole, and it's like, little heads pop out and you're trying to pop them on the head, and it's so
Right.
reactive. um,
That's exactly it. Yeah.
it and most people live this way. It's
Yeah.
unfortunately it's true. And then they don't allow themselves to be guided along the yellow brick road, and allow them to find the teachers and the lessons along the way, because they're just so focused on that whack-a-mole effect. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, something's coming at me, whack it. And
Right.
like, I mean, it obviously, being a mom, and going through all of this, it's a very reactive lifestyle to be a mother, right? Because you just never know what you're going to deal
It
with.
can be. Yes, definitely.
So how do you combat that, and not try to be so reactive, and still try to be focused in?
Well, that the whack-a-mole life was what I was living before. And
Mhm.
we can still get it. I mean, we still, as a parent,
Mhm.
I mean,
Mhm.
as a person, life does come at us.
Mhm.
But when you're clear about what you want and what you're moving toward, you know what to say yes to and what to say no to. When you don't, the whack-a-mole really gets you, because you're like, oh, I got to get this. You're always reacting to things that are coming up because you're not clear about where you're headed.
Mhm.
So if something comes up over here and you're clear, like, yes, this is for me, no, this is not for me, you can go around it. You don't have to interact with it at all. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's an interesting way, but I felt like that's the way that I was living life. It still happens,
Mhm.
but in just reminding myself, oh, I have a path. I know where I'm going. I might not know exactly every single step, but and in fact, we probably don't want to know every single step, because we're growing as we're opening and allowing. But being open to the possibility that's coming toward you, rather than kind of dodging all the obstacles.
Mhm.
And when we're dodging obstacles, and that's overwhelm, right? Because we're
Yes.
not clear about what we want. So something comes up and, oh, I don't know, I'm just going to whack that down, or I'm going to give it my attention.
Mhm. Mhm. So what would you say to the person then who is just being highly reactive in their life right now?
To sit still and to decide what you want. what do you know in deciding what you there are layers to deciding what you want, like I talked about earlier with the core
Mm,
values. I really didn't know who I was at that point in my life. I think your core values, or they stay the same, they're always there, but sometimes they get clouded over by circumstances.
mhm,
But kind of getting really clear about who you are. What is important to you? What will matter at the end of your life? That's always a good question to
mm,
ask yourself. What really matters to me? We spend a lot of time on our phones and on social media and doing lots of things, but are those the important things? When it comes down to it, what's really important to you? And then what would you love? What would you love to experience in your life based on what's important to you? Right? I think that's the key difference. We can decide what we want, oh, I want this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing. But
mhm.
when it's meaningful to you, then it's a game changer. And then you really don't have that. You don't have to live that whack-a-mole life. But I really think it's about being still with yourself, and even when life is coming at you, and kind of I do it as a vibe coach. I teach people how to play what I call the expansion contraction test.
Mhm.
So just kind of being aware of the feelings in your body, right? How do you feel when you're feeling expansive? That's a high vibe, that's a high energy feeling, a high vibration. When you're feeling expansive, and when I mean those are the feelings of joy and abundance
Mhm.
and gratitude. Like those are a high vibe frequency, right? The feelings of contraction are like frustration and overwhelm, anger, grief. Those are contractive, right? So in just playing, just checking in with yourself. How am I feeling right now? Am I feeling, contractive? When I think contractive feelings, I think like almost going fetal,
Mm,
protecting myself, almost going inward. And when I
yeah,
feel expansive, almost moving outward.
yeah.
So checking in with yourself. How am I feeling? What's my vibe like right now? And then if you're noticing that you're contraction, okay, what can I do to raise that vibe? In just little bits at a time. We're never going to go from, anger to joy, but we can go from anger to disappointment, or we can just slowly go up the emotional scale and check in with how you're feeling. I think that's the whole thing. That's vibe management, right? That is
Mhm.
checking in. And honestly, I think that vibe care, or vibe management, is one of the most important parts of self-care. We tend to go to the physical body, but I really think, because that's how your that mind body soul connection, it's all connected, right? So
Yeah.
when you're listening to, and that's where how you usually notice how you're feeling more than what you're thinking, right? So
Yes.
notice how you're feeling, and then up level that thought that you're having. What is the thought that I'm having that is giving me this reaction in my body, the expansion or contraction?
Yes. I think there's so many important points that you've just touched upon there. And I think to start off with the most important one, which is being still and checking in.
Yeah,
And, you speak a lot about the vibe, but I mean, the vibe is also that energetic, we are all energetic beings, and we all give off energy and vibrations all the time.
right.
And, it's exactly what you're speaking about, the vibrations and the energy that you were giving your son, that he was taking on. And it's also the same as like what, with my fur baby, it's like they feel they absorb
All of
all
it.
all of our energy that we're putting out to the world. And so it's important, because people fob it off. I shouldn't say that, because I think it's Australian, but people dismiss being still and going within, and just that self-awareness of how am I feeling, and
Yeah,
sitting with it. Because it's not a matter of right or wrong. You were talking about social expectations and the path that is projected upon us from those around us, or the values of others and things. It's like, go get your degree, get your job, do the things.
right.
But that might not be your right path, and that's okay. And then if you're feeling sad, or you're grieving, or you're angry, why are you feeling that way? And it's okay. Like, be at peace with whatever energy or anything that you're feeling, and just, you know, get uncomfortably comfortable with that.
Right. Right.
Right?
Well, that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
owning your spirit, owning your energy, and that's what you're really giving out. Because if we were to meet in person and I was angry, and you would feel that straight away, you'd be like, Ria, are you all right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm getting a feeling here that, you know, something's not okay with you, and that
Right.
would be it. That's what you're sensing,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. Yeah, and what you just said too is it is not about good vibes only, right?
Mhm,
We're not wired that way. We're just
mhm,
we're wired to, life is 50-50 in human form, right? They're 50% desirable, 50% undesirable. So by no means am I saying that we should have good vibes only, because that is it's unattainable for one thing,
mhm.
and you can't lie to yourself, right? your,
Yeah.
your your soul, I mean, the way that you're feeling
Mhm.
those are messages from your soul, right?
Yeah.
There's something out of alignment when you're feeling contraction.
Yeah.
And really important to allow yourself to, if you're feeling angry, then feel it, just don't stay there. That's the
Correct.
thing. And
Yeah.
if we could sit, like you were saying, if we could just sit with it and allow it to be there, it's uncomfortable, but it's just like a wave. It's going to come in and it's going to go
Mhm.
back out, right? I think we're more afraid of feeling a feeling than the discomfort of actually having the feeling, right?
Yeah, definitely. And there's one thing I always speak about, you know, on many levels with my clients is the body never lies. And
Yes, right.
it never lies. And you said it knows more than the mind does.
Yeah,
And so just checking in and being at one with your body, it's always trying to communicate to you on all the
yeah,
levels. It's trying to tell
right.
you something, but we're not always listening. And
Yeah,
even though if you don't want to believe or think that meditation is something that you want to try, then that's fine. Don't think of it like that. Think of it as just being still, because what you can't see in the audio is, you know, Tracy was talking about posture, and body language. So, you know, that contracted feeling of having your shoulders forward and being really crunched down. Well, how are you going to feel when you're like that? You know, if you check in
right.
with yourself and your posture is like almost fetal, like you were saying, like you're really closed in, well, then obviously you're feeling fear or angst or scared or something is really bothering you. And then there are other times where, you know, you might find yourself feeling really proud and happy, or you might have your hands on your hips and you might have your chest proud and shoulders back and you're feeling nice and
Right.
tall, and you're like, well, I'm feeling really proud and happy in this moment. And just letting that absorb and just
Yeah.
getting just recognizing those feelings, and so that you can just keep moving forward.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's it. And the more that you practice and the more that you're aware, I think a lot of us are not even aware that we're having those feelings. It's just it's like they're happening at us again, that whack-a-mole, right?
Hmm.
That, oh, they're, and it but when we are able to be aware, and that, oh, okay, once you're aware, then you can make changes, right? Once you're aware, then you can make, and like you said, listening to your body's always talking to you, whether
Yeah.
it is in your feelings, the way you're feeling, or in what I call dis-ease in your body, anywhere.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really, I love what you said about the body never lies, because I think I have that book. Actually,
There's a book. I didn't write it,
I
but you
think
know,
there's a book. Yeah, yeah.
there
Well,
probably is.
maybe. Yeah. Anyway, um, yeah,
So
it's really interesting. It's really interesting how and we can't lie. We can't lie to ourselves and say, I'm happy, when you're not. It's just
yeah.
your body's going to tell you, Yeah,
A
it's
hundred, a hundred
interesting.
percent. And I think that probably, I mean, I think it's part of me being such an empath and feeling so energetic when I'm with people, because I can read them quite well.
Yeah.
They can't really hide things which they love and hate about me, I suppose. But
Right.
but speaking about the people that I work with a lot of, you know, ambitious women, who, a lot of them are mums, and they're just
Mhm.
juggling that desire to go after what they want, but it's difficult because they have to, you know, they want to put their kids first and their husbands first, and it's a juggling, you know, like, what's the right thing? Am I doing too much? Am I being too selfish? Am I, you know, not putting them? It's how do you personally, like, what, I mean, you spoke about a lot about personal growth, which I, you know, that's my number one too. I mean, I'm all about that. How do you manage, you know, to juggle everything?
The juggling, especially this year, has been interesting. Putting boundaries around myself and around, you know, I mean, really putting boundaries around my work. I know we're this is an audio, but my kitchen is right on the other side of that wall, right there, right? The refrigerator and the pantry and and we're all here still. And so it's really putting boundaries around myself, because I love to work, right? I love what I do. I'm very passionate about it, but putting boundaries around myself, teaching my family that these things are important to me. You are important to me. My work is really important to me too. And when it comes down to it, I really, you know, our kids are always watching us with their little eyes, ears, and hearts. And like I learned with my son, it's almost like osmosis, right? They're just getting it. They're feeling it from me. So if I am not, you know, living into who I'm here to be, then that's what I'm teaching them. So when it comes down to, you know, being selfish, I mean, I get up really early in the morning, and I have a morning routine. I have an evening routine. My family knows that at least once a week I go off by myself. I have a night out, you know, out of the house. I'm doing my own thing. At least once a quarter, I plan a solo R&R retreat by myself, to the beach or to the mountains or something. But I had to train them to, you know, this is this. And so I'm showing my son that, wow, like, this is what a mom does, right? A mom takes care of herself. I'm showing my daughter, this is what a mom does. She takes care of herself. She, you know, she loves her family. Her family's she definitely, you know, she takes care of all of the people. But I have to put myself first. Like, I have to put those things on the calendar first. This is my night. This is my trip, you know. But I think it's training the people around us. Now, like I said, with pulling my whole entire life apart, everybody was used to me being a yes person and being there always and fixing all the problems. So I had to really completely turn that around and teach them. Okay, you know, you can be self-sufficient. I learned when my kids were real little that they could, there are things that they could do when they're 18 months old. Like, I don't have to do every single thing for them. So, and as they get older and they're in their teens now, you know, that they can cook a meal, that they don't need me for everything. And I really think that that's it. And the balance, there's no real balance. I call it harmony, right?
Yeah.
And it starts inside. It's that inner harmony. So when you're feeling, you know, when you're checking in, when you're checking in with how you're feeling, and you know, doing that vibe management, and really, really clear about who you are and what you want, and feeling good inside, then you'll see that on the outside too. When you're a mess on the inside, like I learned, you're going to see a mess on the outside.
Yes, 100%. Oh, wow. So many golden nuggets already. Again, it's like, I love that thank you, because you spoke about the importance of boundaries, and
Yeah.
it's been a difficult time, especially, you know, like you said, you're all home. And so you have to be like, okay, when the door's closed, I need you to just pretend I'm not here. Like, mom is working.
Right. Right.
You
Exactly.
know?
That's it. Mom's not available right now. You can be a problem solver.
Yeah, exactly. And teaching them that independence, because like you said, there are things that they can do, and just say, look, I'm going to be busy for the next so and so time, and I can be with you if you need me. I'm available after that, you know. And
Right.
that's so important. That's so important. And then you spoke straight to the yes thing, which I mean, I know, you know, I know, like, That's our biggest thing as women. We want to appease
Yeah.
everyone, and we're wired to say yes. And
Right.
it's learning to be honor yourself and say no at times where you know it's actually you don't need to, like you don't
Yeah.
need to say yes to that thing. And I've had to learn that too, because I want to say yes to everyone. I want to help everyone. I want to say yes to the thing.
Right.
And find, well, actually, I think I'm burning the candle now at both ends. So learning to find that, as you say, harmonious in between, because
Yeah.
I believe that too. I don't think there's a perfect balance. There's no such thing. It's a management of that harmony. Uh,
Yeah. That's exactly it. Just
bas-
bringing yourself
Mhm.
internally
Yeah.
back to that harmonious place. And then
Right.
when you're feeling harmony inside,
Mhm.
you'll experience it on the outside. And it's really magical when you, because when I started doing this in my own life, everything around me started changing. You know, all of the, I was trying to make everybody do what I wanted them to do, my husband and my kids and everybody around me. Once I backed off and I really focused on myself, things started happening around me that I had no, there were books on my husband's night table that I never thought that I would ever see. I never even thought to mention them to him, but
Mhm.
it was because he was feeling what I was, that I was in harmony. It's
Yeah,
really interesting.
that's beautiful. And again, speaking to that, like we have this desire to want to control everything,
Yeah.
and it's learning to, yes, we can try to control as much as we can, but also being at peace to understand that sometimes things are going to be, oftentimes things are going to be out of our control, but
Yeah.
learning to be okay with that and still going with it, going with the flow of that.
Right, right. Yeah, that being able to, okay, I know that I can bring myself, okay, if I end up out here, I end up in a contractive place, I can bring myself back to expansion. Contraction, expansion, it's kind of it's really just it's the way that we flow as humans, right? I mean,
Mhm.
and I think about this too, Rio. Like I said, I've been on the yoga mat for almost 30 years at this point.
Mhm.
Every day on the mat is different. Every day, and you work with the body, right? So every day your body is, there's something different in your body. And
Yes.
it's really interesting, and it's how life is, right?
Yeah. It is 100%. I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of our thoughts, though, interestingly enough, are the same as they were yesterday.
Yes.
They say 70% of your thoughts are the same as they were yesterday, but how your body
Right.
feels is going to be completely different than it was yesterday. So,
Exactly. Right.
yeah, if you allow yourself to be guided by that curiosity of what's my body trying to tell me today, I think that you
Yeah.
can learn to have fun with it. Because what Tracy and I are speaking about is the importance of being connected to your inner self.
Yeah.
Because when we get away from that, that's when we actually get away with the feeling of, I don't want to say control, but that feeling of like you've got the reins
Yeah.
of your life. It's continually checking in. So you were speaking about, you obviously you have your yogi practice. It sounds like it's daily. Like, take us through, like, what are your sort of daily rituals to kind of make sure that you're keeping yourself on the right path?
Yeah, so here's the thing, an interesting thing too, is I used to be the control person,
Mhm.
right? I did an hour and a half of yoga in the morning. I did a 30-minute walk with my dogs. And that was before I had kids. That was my life. Well, when I had my kids, I was almost like self-sabotage, and well, if I'm not going to be able to, walk or if I'm not going to be able to do an hour and a half of yoga, I'm just not going to do it at all. And I don't know why I did that to myself, but I had to learn that my morning routine takes an hour. Okay. And it's not huge, but it feeds me. Right. So
Mhm.
I do about a 30-minute walk, I love to walk. I used to be a runner and I realized I hated running, but I really love to walk. so, so a 30-minute walk, I do a 10 minute, like sun salutations. I do sun salutations for 10 minutes. I do a 10-minute meditation and 10 minutes of journaling. And that's it. 1 hour. One
Mhm.
hour, I get up a little bit early, and that feeds me, right? That sets the tone for my day.
Yeah.
And when I miss that, the whole my whole family feels it. Like we all feel it. So it's also that making that time,
Mm-hmm.
and not doing that. Okay, so I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to do this. Making it what works for you. Making it. I'm not a gym person. I don't love the gym. I love to be outside. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I will be out when it's freezing outside. I'll be out when it's raining outside. I love to be walking out in nature. So doing the things that bring you joy, like walking brings me joy. I also, throughout the day, I have a hula hoop that I love, and I do
Oh, what?
I do
Sorry.
a hula hoop.
A hula hoop. Yeah.
A hula hoop. My tongue got tangled up a little bit. A hula hoop that I
Great.
love. So I get out the hula hoop like 3 times a day and just do 10
Nice.
minutes of hula hooping.
Oh, I
But
love that.
doing the things that you love, that are going to bring that expansive energy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think a lot of times I have to do this, I have to do it this way, and I have to do this thing. But then you create contraction when what you really want is expansion.
Yes, thank you. That's so good. Like, people think just because I work within a gym, or I'm all about, I because my clinic is within the gym and I work with clients in the gym, but it doesn't
Right,
mean
right.
that I'm all about gym, right?
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
clients who are on the other side of the world that don't access a gym, and I'm encouraging them to get outside, because that's
yeah.
like the best energy you can get.
Right.
Go to the beach, take your shoes off, connect, ground yourself, put your feet in
Yeah,
the water, like get out in nature, like you said, breathe in that
right.
fresh air when you're amongst the trees. It's the simple things. It's free and it's available
Right.
anytime, anywhere. Doesn't matter what's going on in the world, or just do the things that make you happy. And I
Yeah,
am a big believer of the morning routine, and it doesn't, it sounds like a task. It sounds like a chore, but
right.
I in the past was not really a morning person, and some mornings it's harder to get up than others, but I
Yes,
really
absolutely.
I try to, like you say, feed myself first. I try to fill my cup first by giving myself that alone time to be at one with myself.
Yeah.
I would like to go for a walk first thing, but like I said, I'm not always the best morning person, but I do like to meditate or do some breath work, read, just take time. Just
Right.
even, it could be half an hour, it could be 20 minutes. Doesn't matter. It's just giving yourself time to fill your cup first so that you can give from an overflowing cup. Super
Exactly.
important. And it's
Right.
like you said, when you don't do that, when I don't do that, I feel it, and like everyone feels it, because you're not centered, it is, for lack
Right.
of a better word. It centers you, and it allows you to give greater than you would if you were just frantically getting up to the alarm and just getting on with the day, because you haven't had time to collect yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And just and to move into, what, another thing, just a simple silly thing that I started doing in the mornings is waking up and smiling. Like, before I even get out of
Mhm.
bed, and just do
Yes.
a big goofy smile. And I don't know if my husband, see, he hasn't said anything. I don't know if he's seen me smiling in the morning yet,
Yeah.
but it's an energetic change. It's really interesting, because our minds tend to, first thing in the morning, it wants to go up. There's that thing in my life, oh,
Yeah.
there's that there, it's, we almost have like a negativity folder.
Hmm. Hmm.
But that is just a simple thing that you can do to raise your vibe, right?
Yes.
To a little tiny little bit of vibe care.
Instantly, just
Instantly,
putting a
right?
smile on your face. You can't be angry or sad or whatever if you're smiling. Like
You cannot. It's
your
impossible.
entire physiology changes. And I was
Right.
just reading a study not that long ago about how they had a group of subjects. They actually made them, so they had been diagnosed with depression,
Yeah.
and they got them all to, I think, how it's 30 or 60 minutes a day, as tiresome as that might sound, stand in front of the mirror and smile.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
And
That's a long
smile.
time to smile.
That's a long time. I know. I thought that too as I was reading. I was like, oh, because they're really trying to change that physiology. And
Right.
so to do that, you don't have to do it for 30 or 60 minutes. But
Yeah.
basically, the end result was a lot of those people came off their medications. A lot of
Yeah.
those people said that they felt improvement in how they, their overall feelings, how they felt about themselves. And there's something really intense about staring at yourself in the mirror I've done a
Yes.
few different exercises with this, and it's very intense when you actually just gauge and stare at yourself and look into your own eyes. It's really powerful and it's uncomfortable at the
Yep.
same time. Um,
Exactly.
but like, I love that with the smiling. It just put a smile on your face and it literally will change your world in seconds.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. And what I mean, you don't have to do an hour like I do in the morning. You could do just like a minute of smiling in your bed. You know?
Yeah.
Just to start the day off feeling expansive, and then just reminding yourself through, I mean, there's so many, I know that you have them too, Ria,
Mm,
so many tips, tools, and practices that are
yeah.
really super, super simple. We
Mhm.
just have to remind ourselves to use them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And we've spoken about that. A smile on the
Yeah.
face and just changing even just your body, your posture.
Your posture is huge, isn't it?
Exactly. Just changing your posture is probably the quickest things you can do. You know, if you're just about
Yeah.
to do an interview, they've spoken about how just getting into a power pose, which is your hands on your hips and just standing
Yep.
like that, will give you more confidence in what you're about to do, and the interviewers actually will notice that difference, and like you said, notice that vibration and that energy
Right.
that you
Right.
bring.
Yeah. Years ago, I realized that I was crossing my hands, like I was crossing my hands in front of my body. Right. That was my usual stance.
Hmm.
And I realized that what I was doing was I was cutting myself off. For one thing, it was protective, and I
Mm,
didn't really even realize that I was doing it, that I was being protective. But like I talked about that fetal pose.
yeah.
If you ever saw me standing around, I'd be standing with my arms crossed, and I've made a conscious effort. You will not find me if you see me crossing my arms in front of me these days. It's probably because I'm cold. But I have made a conscious effort to not cross my arms in. You're cutting off. Well, for one thing, I was protecting myself. So I wasn't letting anything in, including
Mhm.
love, right? I
Mhm.
wasn't letting anything in, and I really wasn't allowing anything, I wasn't giving anything out
Yeah.
either. But
Mhm.
that rolling, yeah, I do that often, just,
Yeah.
in my house, putting my hands on my hips, that power pose, it's huge. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, what if you were smiling and doing the power pose at the same
Ah,
time?
wonderful.
What an energetic boost.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I mean, speaking about the power pose, so there's a question I ask everyone who comes on the show, and that is, what does summoning your superhuman mean to you, Tracy?
Summoning my superhuman means, it means reminding myself that I am like full of possibility. In that, like you talked about with the power pose, putting my hands on my hips, and I've had to do that a lot over the past year. I know a lot of us have, but reminding myself that anything is possible. And here's the thing too, that life is good, right? And I am a part of life. Anything is possible in life. That means anything is possible for me. I think that's a little bit longer than you were asking for, but that's really what it is. That's summoning my superhuman is reminding myself that I got this and I'm capable of anything.
I love that. I love that. Thank you, Tracy. That's beautiful. That is a great way to finish off today, I think. And I will really encourage any mothers who are listening to this to connect with Tracy. She has a community. I think she calls it a village. You call it a village, don't you, Tracy? It's
Yeah,
called
I do.
Vision Driven Moms on Facebook, and she also has a podcast called exactly the same thing, Vision Driven Moms
Yes.
podcasts. And yeah, please connect with her. She puts some fantastic content on there about, just being a great mom, and how to be there for your children, and just all this amazing, great content I'm sure you're all going to love. And I truly thank you and appreciate everything that you've been able to share with us today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Ria, thank you so much. It's been fun. Thanks for having me.